Hello, everyone. Hello, our fellow ninjas. I'm Jonathan Crow, Director of Community here at NinjaOne. I have with me Scott Stanley, our product manager in charge of reporting, RMM, all sorts of things, really. And I don't say this to all the PMs, Scott. You're my favorite.
Really, that's amazing. I'm really glad and super happy to be here. I don't do these a whole lot, so it's an exciting sort of. What, uh, Jonathan? What's behind you? What's on the wall?
Yeah, good to see everyone here. Hold on one second. Sorry, Scott. If you could describe what you're working on with Ninja, and how you got here and everything, a little bit about your background. I've got this stream playing in another tab, another one of my like 50 tabs, and I hear the echo, so I'm gonna turn it off. But yeah, give a little background about yourself.
Sure. So I came to Ninja about a year and a half ago, and I was from a managed service provider. I ran our RMM tools there. We were fairly large, had about 28,000 endpoints, and pretty active member of several MSP communities. And I knew some of the product guys here, so that ended up in sort of a relationship that ended up with me working on our product, and been having a good time ever since. About a year and a half here at Ninja. It's coming up on 2 years, and trying to improve our core RMM product, and especially reporting. I know, we get a lot of feedback around our reporting product, and so I'm excited to be moving that forward as well.
Well, appreciate your time here and appreciate you. I think you really embody the ethos of Ninja, how we like to build. You're constantly making use of the Discord and reaching out to the community. Obviously, you were an active member of the community before you joined Ninja. And I think you bringing in not only what you wanted to see from a product perspective, but also how you would like to be treated and engaged with as a user of MSP products and IT products, I think is what you're really bringing to the table here. And I think everyone really appreciates it.
I hope so. Like I said, I'm happy to be here and happy to be a Ninja. So.
Well, thank you again. And thanks everybody in the chat here. All the familiar names. Mr. Ogre, saying it's the real Scott. We also had someone calling out you're putting you on blast for liking, oh yeah, this is Robert, for liking crunchy peanut butter.
I do like crunchy peanut butter. That is true, and I'll die on that hill. I got to tell you, cooking is about texture and flavor, and only crunchy peanut butter has both. So
you're a man of refined taste. Yeah, I am just a simple guy who likes the creamy stuff. So let's not use that as a quote. Ah, man.
Oh boy, why would you do that?
Let's get into what everyone's here to actually to hear about, and that is we just released a lot of new features and a lot of new capabilities in NinjaOne 7.0. Now, some folks like Robert and others who are in EMEA, the folks in Canada, the APAC folks who are our guinea pigs, they've had these new access to these new features and capabilities for a while now. But in North America, this just rolled out. Was it last week? A couple weeks ago? Pretty recent.
Like a week and a half ago.
And so brought you on. There's a couple of really big things regarding automation in the mainline stuff. There's compound conditions, which I know you and Gavin on the team has been super excited about and working really hard on for a while. So if you're cool with it, maybe we start there and we can actually explain, okay, what are compound conditions? Why is that something folks should be excited about? And why is it something that folks should be utilizing?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that. So, just as a brief overview before we do any screen sharing or anything, compound conditions is essentially a more granular way to like target your conditions against your devices, right? So, what does that mean? So let's we have custom fields. Let's say you create a custom field that's like a checkbox, and that checkbox is like this machine needs to get my antivirus software. Pretty straightforward, right? So it says like antivirus enabled. You check that box, and so compound conditions can go out, and as part of your condition, you could check to say like, is this software installed, right? So the first thing would be like, let's say you're using I don't know, whatever. Let's say you're using WebRoot, right? Is WebRoot installed? If it's not, okay, then check this checkbox, right, to see if it's checked and say like it should be. So if it's not, why don't we go ahead and deploy it, right? That could be the action that you take as a result of that compound condition to say like, well, I want to check both that the software is not installed and that this checkbox says it should be, right? So that's one very good way that you could do that. And you can imagine that you can also sequence these, right? So let's say you need to install your AV before you install some other uh, you know piece of software that you're using to ensure that it's correct, or whatever. You have just a sequence of software that you want to install. You can build up these conditions, so you could have, for example, like one, the AV must be installed and my DNS filtering software must not be installed, and this checkbox is enabled that says I get DNS filtering, right? And then at that point, you can say, okay, well, so because this has already happened, now this next thing can happen. So you can use it to kind of sequence sort of events that are going on in a way. And I think that's really powerful and really, really important. And it's something that not a lot of people think about, because it's, like when you think about like, oh, I want to install software, it's often just like, well, there's a scheduled task or whatever. But like, this is a way that you can go through and detect, is it installed? Should it be? And really sort of start to use Ninja as more of like a rule engine around making sure that your configuration is the way you want it to be.
So Scott, I mean, you come from, with your background being at a large MSP and spinning out your own automation team, really focusing on that and everything. Um, I mean, prior to Ninja having this capability, taking your Ninja hat off for a second, putting your MSP, your automation expert hat back on, would that have been, I guess, what's your perspective on this? Like, how much of a okay, now I can actually really utilize this more fully. This is going to make me consider Ninja, actually.
Sure. So, Ninja hat off. Full disclosure, my old MSP does not use Ninja. We're trying. And the release of this feature actually was when I told them and our sales team, like, hey, you guys should probably start having a conversation. So to me, this is really like a real gateway for folks who have more complicated setups and like larger requirements. So it's a real gateway to be able to do those things. But it's also great even for folks who are not looking for things that are like crazy large, complicated, right? Because of like just those simple things that you can do to check for prerequisites. So I really think it's a game changer as far as Ninja goes.
Awesome. Well, I think you went in and, well, one of the questions we had, and I've got the folks here, Robert, I'm looking at you, saying 7.0 has been out forever for you. I'm interested, like, have you been trying out the compound conditions? Have you been putting anything together? Have you been testing things out? Would love to hear that. And if folks want to share a little bit more about what they're seeing, or if they're running into any issues, let us know. But while you're doing that, Scott, I created work for you. I
Oh
asked,
no.
is there anything that you could show off that's a good example of this?
There is, and I do want to actually real quick. I see in the chat here. There's a question from Michael Ogle, and I want to address that real quick because this is good timing on it. Michael asks, why can't we use the standard conditions and compound conditions? And so there's a few reasons for that. Technically, the compound conditions work a little bit differently under the hood, so we've had to like re-engineer a lot of the stuff to make it work. We are moving towards adding not all, but the majority of those conditions to compound conditions to make them more and more robust as releases go on. But in addition to that, if you look, like the settings are very different across like the compound conditions versus just what we're calling like our old conditions. So we have to build out new what's the new criteria, right? For being able to, like, the compound condition itself becomes the parent for like how long things take to run, how challenging, like basically just the criteria for that needs to match. So it's not just a simple like drop in, unfortunately. So I guess the very short answer is it just takes some work to migrate them and you'll eventually see them. The longer answer is what I just finished talking about. So but sure, let's dive in, and I can kind of show you guys how things are configured. And I actually want to talk a little bit about just even specifically the example that I showed, and I have a couple others as well. But so in here, this is our demo environment. I'm going to come in here, and so in a policy, right? I'm going to come into just our standard Windows Workstation policy in here. And to add a compound condition, you just come down to compound conditions. You can see we have none here, and you add. So here is a list of conditions, and you can see right now everything's grayed out. But if I was to add a condition, let's say software, um, and we'll say 7-zip, right? This is actually a good example. So this is like an older version of 7-zip, 2106, and this is like a newer version of 7-zip, right? So let's say I'm looking for these versions of 7-zip, and I can say any or all. Obviously, if I'm doing all of them, I would need both, which is a little weird. So I'm going to say any, and you can say if it doesn't or does exist. So let's say we're gonna check to see if it exists. I come in here, and now I have this software exists, and then I'm going to have a custom field. Now, I didn't think ahead of time to set up a custom field, unfortunately.
Well, I will. If you need to take some time to do that, I have a request. Unfortunately,
Sure.
this isn't good. This is also requiring action on your part. But our good buddy Ben, he's like me. You know, we are wise. I won't say we're old, but we're wizened, and we could use a little bit of help with our eyesight. Can you zoom in a little bit?
Oh,
That's
is
great.
that better, Ben? Do you like that? Is that good?
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yeah, not a problem at all. So I didn't think to add a custom field here, so I'm just gonna pick one of the ones that exists, and we'll sort of go from there. But so let's say we have this checkbox. This is a checkbox, right? Windows 11 blocked by registry. You pretend it says like that we want to check for software updates, whatever it is, and we want to say that it's checked. Okay. And so it has to meet all of these conditions. So theoretically, I could do multiple things in here. I could say like, hey, this has to be checked, and this other thing has to be checked. Whichever it is. But we're going to just do the one for now, and I'll click apply. So now in here, we now have a condition that says we have 7-zip installed at this version, and we have a checkbox on the custom field. And we can come in here and say, I think I have. Do I not? I don't. So we can come in here and say, hey, we want to run a script as a result of that. And so if I come in here and I say, we'll pretend I'm going to install Slack, whatever. But the point being, like, I can detect this state and then I can do something, right? And so you can imagine that I'd created a script to remove this version of 7-zip because it's old, right? I could also then come back in here or come into another compound condition and say if these things don't exist, right? So like we could re-add these and say, hey, this software doesn't exist. Then and we also add the new versions, right? So we say all of these versions, which I'm failing at. Live demos are great. I love live demos. So let's say we say all of these don't exist, right? Then we still have this a different custom field that says it should. We come in here and then you could install 7-zip. So that's kind of what I was talking about with automating software. And I'll go into a few other use cases that are a little less software focused in a minute. But moving on to like the settings, this is where you would get your standard sort of condition settings, right? It's like I could have a name in here and it could be like test for 7-zip old version, right? And that'll show up in the UI when I save it, and I'll show you that. And you can see I can set it up so that it will reset when it's no longer true or after some amount of time, same as like our standard conditions. I can set up how often I want to check this for, right? So like if I want to be really aggressive and it's really important, it could be every 3 minutes for like my security software, but it could be every 24 hours for, something that's a little less important. And we also have this uptime setting. And what this is saying is don't run this condition until the device has been online for at least this long, right? So if we're testing for, like, let's say you're using a script condition, right? And you're checking a registry value or you're checking that like a process is running, you may want to wait until the device has been up long enough for those things to be set. So this is an option to let you do that. And then down in the notifications option, this is our standard, you can set the severity and priority. You can configure this to send notifications to technicians. You can also tell it whether you want it to notify when the condition resets. You can use all of our standard, email, Slack, SMS, webhook, any of the channels that we would have available. If you have a PSA integration, like here, we can see we have the ConnectWise one set up. You can have it create a ticket. All the standard sort of condition stuff in here. This is our ticketing stuff. So when that's done, right, I can click apply, and you can see the name shows up here. And just like anything else, I can disable it, I can delete it, kind of standard compound condition stuff, or standard condition stuff, just like a regular condition. So in thinking about it, right, what else could we do with something like this? We've talked about to ad nauseum installing software. Um, we can also do things like conditional alerting. So, like for example, our conditions in here that we have right now are software custom fields and a script result. So a script result's pretty flexible. Obviously, it requires a little bit of work on your side to run the script, but the script results are very flexible. So, for example, we could run a script to detect if a specific user is logged in or if just a user is logged in at all. And then we could further write a second script that says like, hey, if this user's logged in and the software, whatever, some piece of software that they need isn't running, we need to restart it. Or maybe if it is running, we need to stop it because like they're not allowed to use it. There's all kinds of things we can do in terms of that. We could also do things like check in the script to see if this device is an Active Directory server, and then only do our set of automations and conditions like beyond that, to check for Active Directory stuff. So, for example, these run in order. So, like if I was to create a script that says like check to see if this is an Active Directory server, all of the other scripts underneath it that are like potentially health scripts for Active Directory or are other sort of things that you might want to alert on are just never going to run if it's not against an Active Directory server. And of course, you can also build out roles and do all the other inheritance and things that you can do for policies as well. So that would be a pretty good thing that you can do. You could also do like security configuration drift monitoring, right? You could check you can use the command line to check the configuration of your firewall and see if it matches with a state that you're expecting. And if it doesn't, you could send an alert. And you could do that. You could send an alert, I should say, but you could also then, after that alert has been sent, if like nothing changes or it's the middle of the night or whatever, like there's ways you could set up like a custom field. You could trigger off of that and then have it do a remediation, right? You could say like, okay, well this configuration is wrong, and we've checked 5 times, so now we're going to fill out this custom field. Because we've been logging the number of times we checked to the registry, and this custom field is going to say like, hey, just go reset the firewall. We don't care what the user's doing. There's just all kinds of really cool things you can do. So there's, obviously, as mentioned, there's only the 3 conditions right now, and we have many, many more coming in the future, and they will just add to your options. But most of those options ultimately can work with a script result condition, which is why we did that one first, right? Like I know for a fact we're going to be giving you an OS condition at some point in the future to say like, hey, what OS is this running? But you can do that in the script. I see
Awesome.
Jonathan's back.
Yeah, I'm back. If you had more you wanted to show right now, very cool.
No, I think as far as this goes, like if we have some time at the end, I can answer some questions about it. But I think that at least explains pretty thoroughly like what's useful about it and some of the more common use cases that I've seen.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, if there's, I didn't want to interrupt your flow, and maybe I'm already unsuccessful because I just did it. But there are definitely lots of people very interested in what you were doing and showing off, and obviously have questions, and also have, hey, it'd be nice if you could do this too. So you probably have seen a lot of these questions, or maybe they're things that we're already thinking about, and folks are just curious. They are curious kind of what's next, per usual. So up to you, Scott. Do you want to get into those questions first, or would you prefer to hold them to the end?
I think we can do some questions now. I mean, that's fine. We've got quite a bit of time left, and I'm excited about all this stuff. So it doesn't hurt my feelings to dig on this, especially because this is, as I said, I think this is a big deal. It's definitely a real big game changer for folks. So I'd rather answer some questions. Scrolling back down, it looks like I would also like to see file exists, folder exists, registry key exists, registry value exists. Are there any plans for these? The answer is yes to all of them. Actually, they are all on our roadmap. So each and every one of those things is coming. The file exists / folder exists is going to be all kind of one thing, and same for the registry. It'll just be in one sort of configurable thing. Will custom field exists be an option on secure fields? I'm not sure actually. I thought I know that's an option on the basic condition. I was, if I'm honest, I thought you could do that now. So let
Yeah,
me
and we
take
can
a
confirm,
let me take a
obviously.
quick look and make sure that I'm not blowing smoke here. But I thought you could just do that. We must have a secure field
Yeah,
somewhere.
check it out. And then
You know what? I'll just
also
make one.
got I got a bunch of stuff pinned here. I pinned the questions so you don't have to go hunting for
Oh,
them, Scott.
dude, look at this guy. He's so nice to me.
So here's one too while you're looking at the secure fields thing. So we've got
You know,
LDHC.
I forgot how to use my own product, right?
It happens. But he's basically talking about one of the use cases. To give a little bit of more context around that question about secure fields. So one of our use cases would be software not installed and a secure field with a token exists.
Why am I not remembering where I set up custom fields in this stupid app? I don't. Anyway, I'm having a brain dead moment for the moment, but we'll circle back around to it.
Okay, cool.
Sorry. So what was the
Um,
question?
Here's another one that people were kind of bumping up. Not a question, more just kind of like a would like to see.
Oh,
Um,
custom field criteria, true or false, showing in the conditions list without having to open up that specific condition. So we are in the midst of doing some visualization upgrades in our app. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. Um, the desire to have more visible policies and the way that they are configured is definitely a known thing. I can't speak to whether we're definitely exactly doing it in that fashion or how it's going to work, but I can tell you that it is top of mind as we're going through and making changes to that area. So you will certainly see improvements. I don't know that you'll see very specifically that improvement in the way that you're asking, but I would expect, I would definitely expect to see changes there in the future, not too distant.
yeah, and this is my chance to call out our Discord server, and I'll drop the link, or maybe Robin, you can drop it in here where you can scan if you're not a part. I think a lot of the folks here already are, but if you're not, come join us. You'll see Scott and the other PMs in there, and the reason I'm calling out right now is we also have our product design team will drop surveys, and so as things are moving kind of further along. When it comes to the UI and everything, they're constantly looking for input. And so may not apply exactly to this, but as things are rolling out, and that's a key consideration is how are we going to actually make this? What are the options? What's the UI going to look like? Constantly looking for feedback there too. Okay, so here's another one for you. And thanks, Robin, for showing that. Let's go to Ben.
The temptation is to make everything happen quick and run all conditions ASAP, like every 3 minutes. Are there any functional penalties for doing that? Can Ninja handle it? TWA refugee. What I can tell you there is our conditions run. The vast majority of our conditions run on your endpoint. So rather than having like a centralized configured, like, hey, run, a loop on the server and then push the stuff out, like we configure the endpoints to run your conditions on a regular basis. So there's not really any penalty in terms of like you won't see problems with Ninja for running things very quickly. If you are doing extremely process heavy things, right, like on a regular loop, you might see some performance issues on the endpoint because you're causing like those things to run frequently. But in general, like most, obviously, like Ninja's engine is fairly light, and the things that if you're just doing like very simple checks, you probably aren't going to see any substantial performance impact on any of the devices. So, no, there's not really for the most part, broad strokes, there's not really a big penalty for that. You can make things run as quickly as you need, and that's completely fine.
So challenge, Ben. Let's see how much you can clog it up. Let's do it. All right. And then we've got Mike talking about it would be, and again, not a question necessarily, more just a
It'd
nice
be
to have.
nice to have condition triggers for integrated AV detections. It sure would.
Moving
No,
on.
I
Noted.
actually don't know whether that's planned or not. I apologize. realistically, the integrations team, our integrations team, would be probably responsible for building out those conditions rather than the RMM team. It's certainly good feedback, and I'll happily take it to them. But I don't know if that's on their roadmap, and I apologize.
And then, oh, yeah, sorry if you missed it, but timers on compound conditions.
So like a duration. Right now we don't have like a duration sort of set up for that, but because everything is sort of script driven, there are ways you could go about doing that. So an example would be that you could record you basically in a script, because right now scripts are the only way to monitor services, although that will change in the future. So in the script that you use to check a condition, you could theoretically write to like a registry value or to a file to say like, here's a timestamp for when this occurred. And then if that timestamp exists, right, and the service is still stopped, you could compare that in the script and then say like, okay, well, it's been a half an hour and now I want to return, a failure. So doesn't particularly have a lot to do with compound conditions in this case, but you could, well, I guess theoretically you could do it that way. You could also, in that script, write to like a custom field and then check the value of the custom field to do your alerts as well, to say like, hey, this service is still stopped because of the script, and also, this custom field is set, which means it's been long enough. So that could work. But there are a couple ways you could do it. It's not native yet. That is coming.
And then also, I think this is another good chance to call out having a good relationship with your account managers and then asking them questions. We talk about with Ninja having free training and onboarding and everything. Obviously, that's a lot of that is front loaded, with people in terms of people taking advantage of it. But it doesn't mean you have to stop. Like once you're onboarded, you can reach out at any time and get time with an engineer, a sales engineer, and ask them questions, and they'll be happy to help work through things with you. So just putting that out there. You should take advantage of it. All right. And then there's probably more since I switched over to this, just the pinned comments. But here's the last one I've got right now. Are there plans to add member of group as a condition? I'm not quite sure what. Do you need more clarification on that, Scott? Do you know where John's going with that?
Group. So I'm going to assume what you're talking about there would be like, so like our device groups is what I'm assuming you're talking about. So like as in you set up some criteria in device search and you save it as a group, and you say like, hey, if a device is part of this group, have this condition. So what I will say there is that what you're asking for is coming, probably either this year or next, but it's not coming in that form, and that's as much as I'll say. we have some great stuff coming. It's not my place to talk about it on this stream, but we definitely do have a way to do the thing you are describing coming soon, and soon being in the next year or two. And my coworker and good friend Gavin Stone is the one working on that, so you can trust that it will be well designed and in a way that will be useful for you.
Okay, so we'll get Gavin on next, and we'll try to ambush him about
and
these
he
things.
Won't talk about it either. I hope.
Soon. Hashtag soon.
Yeah, hashtag soon. Standard Ninja timeline,
All right, so Scott, you're successfully survived the firing squad so far. There is
people don't scare me. They're all our friends.
They are our friends.
And for those of you who don't know, but like strangers, if you guys are strangers and you don't know me, it's okay. Strangers are just friends you haven't met
yet. This is good. Like, and also too, I mean, I think this is great. I mean, I think everybody here knows this by now, but we don't shy away. Like we actively seek out, hey, what do you guys need? What are the additional asks that you have? What are the issues? We want to hear all this stuff. So thank you everybody for joining in and leaving comments. Okay. So there's a couple more, and then Scott, and there's a couple other things we could be talking about, like warranty tracking, and some of the reporting updating too. So, but let me pull up.
Yeah, just I want to circle back around to a question I was struggling to answer earlier, which is you're correct that we do not have secure field exists or doesn't exist as part of this condition. So I will take that back. I don't know why that is. I know we do have it in the standard conditions, so there must be a reason why that decision was made, but I don't think I was part of it. So I'll take it back and we'll find out. I think I mean, certainly there's a lot of use for it. So
Yeah, I'm making a note of that too. So yeah, we'll get back and follow up on Discord if you're there, or in the comments on YouTube too. Okay, so
there's a question that Ben Gagnon just asked that I would love to pivot to.
sure.
So you talked about yeah, that's the one. Can I share my screen again? Can I?
Yes,
I'm
of
excited.
course.
I'm so excited, Ben. So Ben says, I want to hear about patch reporting because Scott remembers me being a jerk about this. And I do remember Ben being a jerk about this, just to be clear. Now he's great. He's been a member of our community for a long time. And he has never actually been a jerk to me. But I am excited to show this off because as I mentioned, I do more than just RMM. I'm also a reporting guy. And I've heard quite a few problems and reports with our patch reporting. So I want to be like the first person to tell you two things about our patch reporting. One, it's getting a lot better. So the first thing that I want to talk about is date ranges. So many of our patch reports had date ranges that like the data itself wasn't adhering to, and we heard that as feedback at time and time again. So I've directed my reporting team to fix that in almost all cases. So over the next two releases, which is this one, 7 and 8, you'll see that those reports will all adhere to those timeframes, and that should improve the experience for what we already have. However, I'm also really excited to talk about the new report that I put into the platform this release. So I want to start off by saying that as the reporting PM, it is my job to hate our reporting. So I want our reporting to be so much better than it already is. And this is sort of my peace offering to the community to say, like, I promise it's getting better, guys. So I went out and I gathered a ton of feedback around what somebody might want in a summary report and what I would want in a summary report for like a manager or just a high level report that you could send out to your customers. And so in 7, there's a new report called a management summary report. It sounds boring. What it is, in my opinion, is awesome. So first of all, before I get to the report itself, you'll see that now the front cover page is represented here in our reports, and this is true for all reports. And it has been changed a little bit, so there's no longer a date range on it. It just shows the execution date. Your description comes out here. Everything is sort of similar. However, actually, I'm going to cheat and come back here. There's also a little something new about the cover page. I have picked the wrong folder. Let me grab the right one. That's my owl. We're not doing great here. Let's see. Upload this. Paste. There we go. So I'm going to upload an owl here. And that's it. We're done. It's a new setting, exported cover page. When I come back into these reports, I'm going to come back into my management summary report. This image, which has some guidelines around size, now will show up on the right-hand side of your reports, every one of them. There is also a feature coming in the next week or so where you'll be able to override this at the schedule level. So every single schedule, if you want, you could put like a customer logo here. You could put a division logo here. You could put whatever you want over here on the right-hand side to create like a new cover. So that's thing one. We wanted to spruce up your reports a little bit. And this is the report. So some feedback that we got was that our overall health score was not super transparent about how it got there. So now it's pretty much just a straight average of things that are pictured. So if you were to take 0, 60, 100, and 100, add those up, divide them by 4, you get 65. Pretty confident in that. But also, each of these metrics, other than server availability, ties into one of the other widgets in this report. Wow, man, these guys are savage. You see this chat? They just hate me. All right. Well, anyway,
That's how you can tell they like you.
I mean, I guess. It's so savage, guys. But Robert, in our country, you use a point. 1,5 doesn't make any sense. I just want to throw that out there.
Oh no, here we go.
So anyways, so we have this overall health, and we have a patch. We now have a patch coverage setting that hopefully will make Ben a little bit happier. So you can see here, well, other than the fact that it's 0%, right? You can see the score is based on the last 90 days. So it tells you exactly like what this is based on. Like this is your current data. This is based on last 90 days because I selected last 90 days up here. And if I change this to last 30 days, it's now based on the last 30 days. So that's a good thing. And you can see here, it enumerates sort of how many patches are missing. So this particular environment, the way the date range that I have here doesn't have anything fully patched. Obviously in your environment you would, but it shows you also sort of the top few devices that are missing patches. So like you can see this particular device here is missing 3 patches, and it is the one device here. And then these 2 patches are missing 1 patch each. But it is 0%. So the AV protection, this is going to be, you've got total running devices that are protected, and then overall AV coverage. And then you also have down here which devices are running. Now you'll notice down here, this is 60% and 20%. And the reason for that is that we actually have a device running both. So even though this looks like it should be 80%, right? It's not, because 3 out of 5 devices have AV, and 3 out of 5 have AV that's fully up to date. So that's why you're seeing only 60% here. It does make sense. It's just a little bit strange. So like this total down below can go over 100. And we're hoping to have maybe a little explanation blurb added to the product at some point for that. Down here, we have top disk volumes by usage. So this is going to be like your most full volumes. So, you can see here, like this is not by size, but by percentage. If there were devices that had higher utilization, they'd be orange or red. And then coming down a little bit further, we have just a device type count and a device OS count. So you can see where you're at there. If you go beyond, I believe it's like 8 entries, it will basically sum up all the ones that are at the bottom as like an other section. So the idea here is that this report is a little bit more in line with what I would expect to see coming out of our product. Obviously, it's a relatively simple report. It doesn't have like a ton of details. It doesn't have, like individual device information beyond like just the top few. But this is more in line with what I would expect our reporting to do in the future. I'm hoping to make it more and more configurable. So like, for example, some feedback that I got early on this was like, well, what if I want to exclude a device? Oh, okay. I mean, that's good. It's good feedback. We can't do it right now, but in the future, we definitely want to make it so you can be like, okay, well, I don't care about this specific device because it's got 100% disk volume always because it's an NVR, right? Things like that. Apparently, Jonathan can get access to dark mode. I didn't realize. That's incredible.
Oh man, there goes. Yeah, thanks a lot, Striker.
So just to answer a quick question here, Justin Graves asked, "I like the report. Is there any way to run it for multiple orgs?" Yes, although it's not as convenient as I would like just yet. So the way you would do that is here in schedules. When you create a schedule, you would create a schedule name. And then you can attach your report template to it, and then you unfortunately have to schedule that against each of your individual orgs in the schedule. Let me grab it real quick. Org actions on the report. There you go. So here you would select an organization, and you basically just create a schedule for each. In the future, I would like to make it so that there's a way to sort of schedule these against all orgs and just have them come up with like an individual org contact of some kind. We just don't have anything at the moment. So that's all we got there. And I would love to see a worst patch scores top 10 in there. That's functionally what that is. So like the devices that show up there will be the devices that, I'm sorry, you're saying you want like an individual device top 10. Yeah. That will probably exist in a patch report at some point in the future. Am I missing questions here, Jonathan? I'm just
Yeah, I'm looking through. I did
scrolling
see
through.
there's one more. Oh, here we go. This is from back at the top.
Is long-term audit reporting possible in the future, more than 3 months, or is the API the cleaner way to archive the activities in a long-term perspective? So I think the API right now is the cleaner way to achieve like long-term archival. I do want to have like a per user activity audit report. And so a way that you could do that in the future once that report exists would be, of course, to just run that report for like the period that you're running it for. So like let's say it's 90 days, you run it for 90 days, you run it every 90 days, and then you save it that way. So that is another way that in the future I hope to provide you with that. I don't have an ETA on when that particular report will be available, but it is definitely a very commonly requested thing. Any plans to open up reporting to allow custom reports for any data point to the API? No. not yet anyway. There are big plans for reporting that I am not yet able to talk about because they're not 100% solidified, but likely let's just say my commitment to you is that I will open up way more data in the system for you to be able to report on, preferably without needing to use the API. Is kind of where I'm at right now. I know lots of folks are using the API, for Power BI and to export like to seam data and all kinds of stuff. And I hear you and I understand what you're looking for. But what I would prefer to do is make it easier for you to get the data you want out of the actual system. So we're working towards that now. I don't have any specific thing to talk about, but keep your eyes peeled. At some point Jonathan will drag me back into one of these streams and we'll talk about it when it's a little bit further along.
Yeah, I was pleasantly amazed when we asked Scott to do this, and he said, "Yeah." Didn't even take that much coercion at all.
No, none at all. I mentioned earlier, Jonathan. How do I get rid of my screen share? There we go. Yeah, I'd mentioned earlier that you have an interesting thing in your background. Like you got some kind of, I don't know exactly what it is. Do you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Do you see it? I'm just
You're
curious.
talking about like the badges, maybe?
Yeah, maybe that might be it. That could be what it is.
Yeah, some people don't think this background is real, but it is.
Huh.
Oh, gotta get my goots back up too.
Yeah, you gotta get your goots up.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Oh, okay. All right. Here's one more from Mike. Would love to be able to reference and look up data points already in the system.
Okay. No, yeah, that sounds great. So what I can tell you, I'll give you a little sneak peek between me and my closest 1,000 friends or however many people are watching this. One of the things that we are doing, hopefully for the next release, although obviously pending QA and all the work getting done and everything, I'm looking to allow you to put data grids, like our data grid reports or our data table reports. I want to let you put those inside of our PDF reports. Like, so that's a real common ask that we get is like, we want to be able to just put some of those textual grids that you get like CSVs into like a PDF. So I'm hoping that I will be able to deliver that for not 8, but for 9, because that's where we're working now. Pending, all kinds of stuff working correctly. That is my hope. So you heard it here first. That's the goal. We'll see if we can get there, but hopefully that will unlock a lot of sort of pain points that you guys have been having around just wanting to get specific data points out to specific, reporting needs.
Awesome. Scott, we got a little bit more time here. If folks are cool with it, did anybody else have questions about reporting at all? Or going back to compound conditions? If not, warranty tracking is something that has been out in beta for a while. We've talked about it quite a bit, but I think this is the first time we've got you, captive on screen. Anything you want to talk about warranty tracking, because this is something that you really drove?
Yeah, no, warranty tracking. I would say warranty tracking is like the first major piece of RMM that I was like, I want to get this in and I want to do this for the community. I think it's a big win for us. So warranty tracking is a pretty simple thing. We have warranty fields, just start and end dates, and we currently, well, so we started out with just that, right? Just have some fields that you could fill in, and we thought that was like a good start. We added to the device search so that you could, have some filters around like the dates in the future, dates in the past for those. And that was literally version 1. It was just like, yeah, here you go. You can you can type some stuff into the product. And then we decided we wanted to populate those fields automatically for you guys. And so we started out just by doing Dell. It turns out Dell was real pleasant to work with in terms of like a vendor. So we were able to reach out to them. They gave us a huge allotment of sort of data for their API, and we're like, yeah, we're happy to help. So we were able to do Dell lookups, and then from there we progressed, and we've also now been able to get Lenovo, HP, not Enterprise, Toshiba. Those are all in the product now, and also Microsoft. So all of these products look up the warranties automatically. We've gotten it to the point where when you turn the feature on, it looks them up right as you turn it on. So you don't have to like wait. Before it was like turn it on and then wait for the auto running to happen once a week. We didn't love that. So we have that going now. There's still more work to do. Obviously, as I put my reporting PM hat back on, like there's not a report about that yet. So we certainly still have some work to do there, but you can export them by the device search, and you can get data grid reports on them. So there's at least some way to do it. So those are important. The other thing we did this most recent patch, which I guess is coming to you guys, our next patch, there is a new thing called a fulfillment date. We've got a lot of feedback around sort of when did the device get purchased. So this is our best approximation of that. So it's either, depending on what the API returns, the date that it was manufactured, so like you can get a real age of the hardware, the date that the order was placed, or the date it was shipped. So those are in preference order. Those are the dates that are in the fulfillment field. Yeah, it's nice and simple. You just go in and turn it on. Right now, in version 7, if you go into our apps page, you'll actually see that it's listed as coming soon. And we did that just so that not everybody would flood in on day 1 and turn it on. So all you got to do is just talk to your AM and they can turn it on for you. Coming soon is coming as soon as you talk to your AM. And they'll turn it on for you. No problem. Next release, it's going to be ungated entirely, and you'll just be able to go in and turn it.
Awesome. So that was going to be my question: was how do people get access to, and if it's so required that or not? So that's good to know. And just for super clarity's sake, the things you were showing for reporting and the compound conditions, that's not the case there, right? That stuff's active for everyone.
Yeah, that's just there, completely generally available, no problem. Just go use it.
Awesome. And then also, just to clarify too, the warranty tracking, once the AM enables it, I think we made a big deal out of this with the press release and everything, but that's no additional charge, right?
Yeah,
That's included.
Completely free.
Yep. Okay, so as always, other questions of, oh, well, that sounds great. What about this? So, well, here's one clarifying question first from Robert. About HP and syncing and how often.
Yes. So HP and Microsoft only sync once a month. Those APIs are a little bit lower throughput, so we had to kind of throttle back how often we checked for new warranties. But they do still check as soon as you turn it on now. So it's not, you're not required to wait.
Okay, awesome. And then
Wortmann Terra. So Wortmann is, for those of you who may be in the United States, they are a manufacturer or equipment manufacturer. They're fairly common in the UK and Germany. So I've seen this request a few times. Currently, it's in like the feature request state. I don't have any kind of like an API I can use for them, and I don't have a contact over there to make that happen. So if you are someone who has a contact over at Wortmann and you'd like to see this happen, first of all, I'd love it if you'd help submit a feature request, but also if you're the sort of person who has a contact over there, please join our Discord and send me a DM, because I would be happy to have a path forward. So that's those are the two challenges there. Is I haven't seen a whole ton of requests for that, although I've seen a couple, and I don't have anyone over there that I can talk to.
Fair enough. All right. And then there's a few more questions that are kind of going back to, let's see, reporting and some other things.
Sure.
We can hit a couple of these and then we'll wrap things up here.
Sure.
So here's from Justin.
I'd like to have one org per customer, and then see the status of the locations within that org via a multicolored status icon next to the orgs in the dashboard. Is that possible? So I'm not as familiar with our new dashboard rework as I might be, but there is a new dashboard rework in process that might give you a lot of what you're looking for. If you don't have that turned on, just reach out to your AM and they can turn it on for you.
Yeah, that is one of those where you have to ask. Okay, and then from Nick, I don't think we got to this one.
Can you make the user idle time a searchable item under devices? Like in the device search, you want to be able to check for an idle time. I mean, I guess the long answer, or the short answer is we can do anything. The long answer is I've not heard this as a request before. So if you want to submit it as a future request, we can certainly take a look at it and prioritize it as we would.
And then a timeline question.
Is there a timeline for when we will be able to see third-party update release dates? My name is not Chris.
Yeah, so you see, the way that we have things with product managers here at NinjaOne is we have product managers assigned to specific products and functions, right? And so we have Chris Williams, who's our PM of patching, and we can direct this question to him.
Yeah.
And he can get, if you're in Discord, I can ping you there. Otherwise, I'll also just put his answer in the description here on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then Robert just gives a little note.
Yeah, I know it's there. Again, it's just not something I've seen as a request. So, again, we take certainly all feedback. I mean, obviously I've seen it now. It's here on the stream. But we take all feedback seriously, and it's an interesting thing where we have to choose what order we build everything in. So if you make a feature request and people vote for it, then that helps me build it sooner. Like, that's all. As Michael mentions, you can also hit up Chris on Discord with that question if we wanted.
And I'll put I mean, there's so many requests, so much to do all the time. Scott, your jobs are very awesome jobs to have, very challenging in that regard of how do you choose and prioritize when there's so much to do.
We should do a stream about that sometime. It's an interesting process.
Yeah, we should. We'll see. Look at you. You're volunteering yourself for another one already.
Oh, no, I'm volunteering my boss for that one.
Okay. Well, we should wrap this up, but there is one more question. This is a great one. This is from Mike.
What new thing am I most excited about? God, I'm excited about a lot of things. Let's say the ones that are within like my purview, right? So the things that I'll be working on. If I want to, I'll limit it to that, just because there's a lot of exciting things going on at Ninja right now. But I think the thing that I'm most excited about is sort of, as I was alluding to earlier, the project that I'm working on to make more to almost all of the data points in Ninja available to our reporting engine and deliver them. I think that's the thing I'm most excited about right now. That is on the horizon. But we have so much more cool stuff coming. I think the other thing I would say is, I can't pick one. I'm going to pick two. So the other thing I alluded to, where we have a solution coming for your suggestion to target like conditions against groups. I'm very excited for that as well. That's kind of a longer term excitement. I think that's going to take quite a bit of time, but I'm really excited about both of those projects. I'm involved in both of those projects to some degree. On the second one, and to a great degree on the first. And like I said, I really hope all you guys are see the work that we're doing, and you see that we're constantly improving the product, because it's been Yeah, I mean, it's been a big deal, right? Like it's I don't know. For me, it's especially um it's especially special just because of where I came from, and having dealt with a lot of vendors before, and tried to have the relationship that Ninja has with a lot of our customers. It's nice to see that Ninja's finally the sort of the company that does it. It's not just like, oh yeah, we're listening, honest, right? Like we're listening. So that's all.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always thanks for that, Scott, and it's something we really do within the company. We're constantly repeating that mantra, right? Like this is what people appreciate about us. This is what makes us different, and then we want to fulfill that more and more. Yeah, I think everybody. Thanks also to everyone here in the chat and everyone on Discord and in the dojo and everything, because I mean, this doesn't work without you guys too, and so you're a key component of that. Thank you for being patient with us. Thank you for taking us up on that offer. And giving us a little bit of benefit of the doubt, depending on where you're coming from. And we are hearing you. We're excited about all the stuff we're building. And I'm Ben asked, what am I most excited about? I'm just excited about, like, we've reached such a crazy scale with, my focus is on the community, right? I am really excited about Ninja being able to give back more. And we've got some cool things planned with working with some other existing peer groups, creating some other regional events and things like that, getting people together. And we've got some cool plans with working with other people in the community to really give back more and help people collaborate and do cool things, because we see that every day within Discord, but in other places too. There's this is cheesy, but there is real magic when everybody gets together. We've got a ton of smart people who are very genuine and want to help each other out, want to do cool things. And it's really just providing, I think there's a lot Ninja can do that provides the space for that, and really helps enable it. And so we've got some cool things coming there. That's what I'm excited about.
I want to real quick address Andreas's question. He says, "Hi, is there any plan to include support for Proxmox VE and Proxmox backup server?" So we've been hearing more signal about this recently. It's not currently planned with like a timeline. I would say there is already a feature request for this on our product board. Please go upvote it. We're definitely strongly considering doing support for Proxmox in the future. It really kind of also depends on how the hypervisor market shakes out a little bit, but we've been hearing it more and more. So just throw your vote in there. Like I said, I know it sounds goofy to be like, oh, just go vote for it, but like that really is a big factor is in how we make our decisions. So the more noise you make there, the easier it is to do.
I'll provide links too after the fact here to the product boards. There's more than one, and so I'll provide some links for that so people can have the access to that. All right, all. I know we didn't get to all the questions, but I'm keeping track of these, and we'll make sure that we hit you up after this. Gotta run, but Scott, thanks again for doing this purely out of your own goodwill and no coercion needed.
None whatsoever.
And thank you all for coming in and for being awesome. We'll see you on the next stream, which will be soon. Thanks all.